All right, this one's a new one for me. This is not mine. I'm actually helping somebody out by looking at it. John Deere M. I'm not sure of the year. I haven't researched it yet to figure that out. But we have two issues. We got one, cylinder number 2 is misfiring 90% of the time. Every now and then you get a pop out of it. And I'll show you that real quick right now. Alright, I pull cylinder number 2 plug wire. I get spark, but when I take it away, the engine doesn't change. Pull number 1, it just about dies. Every now and then it tries off number 2. Yeah, that one's kind of weird. I've swapped plugs out from one cylinder to another, and that didn't change anything. And the fact it hits sometimes is telling me it's probably not going to be, well, it could be intermittent sticking valves. So we'll see what's going on there. Hopefully I don't have to go any further than valve cover deep. Maybe something as simple as spark plugs, even though the misfire didn't move when I moved them. The other issue is we have a very strange clutch problem. Well, apparently this had some clutch work done, I guess not long ago hour-wise, but probably a couple years ago. And I don't know what was done. The receipt said repaired clutch. It did not say anything about replacing parts. It did talk about some other work that was done, replacing an alternator and parts, and all the parts were listed. So I'm not sure what they did with the clutch. But clutch works okay, but intermittently. And I guess not totally intermittently, because more often than not, you push on the clutch and tractor doesn't stop. It feels different. You feel a grinding and popping sound in the transmission, and it gets a lot worse if you start jabbing the brakes and everything seems to bind up. It's just really weird. To me, it doesn't feel like disc coming apart, but I guess it could be, but it's weird that it makes a lot of the noise inside the transmission. At least that's where it's resonating from. Last time I looked at it, I thought it was mostly from the bell housing, but driving it today, it's definitely, you feel it in the seat a lot. So we'll that'll kind of be exploratory, but here's that video. Here's the best I could catch it on camera. Not very great, but take a look, take a listen. I know you can barely hear me talking here. First gear. Let off the clutch for normal. Push in the clutch. Hear a grinding noise. Now I'm holding the brake. Alright, so it didn't do it as bad today as it did when I drove it at the guy's house. But a couple things stand out. The clutch is way out of adjustment, but it's an adjustment in the opposite direction where it's almost disengaging too much, but that may have been somebody adjusting it to make up for this. Looks like the top plate on the transmission's been off. A couple of these screws are actually finger tight. That back corner one was backed up a ½ inch. So maybe they open that up to take a peek. I don't know. I'm probably going to open that up to take a peek, but we'll see what's going on. So I'll pull the hood off, and first thing we'll probably tackle is just do some quick triage of the engine, see what's going on there, and see if that's anything we can take care of easily. But probably do a compression test just to eliminate some of the other stuff. If that ends up bad, hopefully it's just a sticking valve or something on the top end. But anyway, we'll see what we got. Alright, I think I'm gonna just start off with a compression test and go from there. It's not oily or anything. It looks exactly the same as the other one. Old and carboned up. Points have a lot of white corrosion on them, but there's nothing horrible. There's some moisture in the cap, but not on the top half. And the guy told me this condenser wire was pinched between the cap at one time. I see the flat spot, but that's not causing anything. Alright. Let's check our good cylinder first. And in neutral, ignition's off. Almost 120. That's pretty good. See what number 2 gives us. That's just as good. So mechanically, we don't have an issue. So I would say start with the tune-up. Let's put good plugs and wires in it and reevaluate. Alright. Essentially, I wanted to make sure I didn't have to take the engine apart, pull the valve cover off or anything before I separated the tractor and dealt with the clutch. Because it's easier if I could spin the engine over and it's there. But at this point, that's kind of my next step. Yeah, I'll worry about that after I figure out what's going on with the clutch. Just figure out everything that's going on overall and go from there. Moving on, because that clutch cover, or sorry, that transmission cover is so easy to get to. It's already mostly apart or mostly loose. I am going to pop it off real quick just to verify there's no transmission issues going on. Piece is kind of heavy. And very crusty. There's a lot of caked up stuff on that thing. Man. Alright, I see a lot of potential stuff going on here. Let me try to get a better pictures of it. Okay, it's pretty crusty, but maybe not horrible for a tractor that's not going to do a lot. But I do see the output shaft does have a lot of end play where it's going back and forth. You can see it pretty good like that. It's easier without camera rig in the way. Well, it doesn't go up and down. Wonder if we're getting any back and forth. Oops. Let's see. No, input shaft does not move back and forth. There's no in play there, so that's good. Output shaft in play is an issue, but it would probably only show up in the fields. Guy that owns this can run around the yard and let his grandkids drive it, so unless it was a farm tractor, it'd probably be an issue. Okay. Alright, so I'm holding the clutch in right now, so it's in neutral. So I'm able to spin this counter shaft and the input shaft. Well, I don't see anything wild and crazy in there causing it. It's not ideal, but it's not killing it. Alright, I'll go ahead and set those forks back down, but I'll do that off camera. Let's see what else, where we're going to go from here. So splitting this tractor doesn't look too horrible. Looks like, let's see, we got a couple hydraulic lines running across the top. There's fittings here to disconnect the hydraulic lines. We'll have to pull our steering shaft. And the throttle shouldn't be too hard either. Alright, so steering shaft, hydraulic lines, and throttle. That's probably the hardest parts to deal with. Wires and tubing and stuff, simple. But from there, we just need to support it. Back it off. I'll see if I can suspend the engine front half with a engine hoist. Back half, I'll just build up something here to slide it back. Maybe even just use a floor jack. Yeah, I'll probably just use a floor jack, just secure it real nice. But this was the quick triage here. I'll go ahead and post this video, and then in the next video, either I'll have some ignition parts that throw on this thing and check that out, or we'll go ahead and split the tractor. I'm leaning towards go ahead and split the tractor to see what's going on. See you then.